Welcome to the Legals Educare Law classes. Join me as we explore the classes and hierarchy of criminal courts. Let's decode the structure of our legal system together. Section 6 of the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita talks about the classes of criminal courts. Section 6 starts with the words besides the High Court. These words mean there shall be a High Court in every state. As you can see, in India we have a High Court in each and every state. For example, for the state of Delhi there is High Court in Delhi. For the state of Rajasthan there is a High Court in Jodhpur. For the state of Uttar Pradesh there is a High Court in Allahabad. So for every state there is a dedicated High Court. But there are some states which share a common High Court. For example, there is a High Court in Chandigarh for the state of Punjab and Haryana. And for the northeastern states, there is a High Court in Guwahati. And there are some other states which are comparatively large in terms of area and population. In such states, there are benches of the High Court as well. For example, for the state of Rajasthan, there is a High Court in Jodhpur. And there is a bench of the High Court is in Jaipur as well. For the state of Uttar Pradesh, there is a High Court in Allahabad and the bench of the High Court is in Lucknow as well. In states like Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, etc., there are benches of the High Court as well. So, the High Court is the highest court in any state. And the Article 227 of Indian Constitution provides supervisory jurisdiction to the High Court. And the High Court has this supervisory jurisdiction over all the courts and tribunals throughout the territory of the state except the courts related to armed forces. So this supervisory jurisdiction is exercised by the High Court in order to keep these subordinate courts within the bounds of their jurisdiction so that they do not go beyond their jurisdiction. So this supervisory jurisdiction can be exercised by the High Court in three situations. Number one, where the subordinate court exercises the jurisdiction which it does not have. It means when a subordinate court did not have jurisdiction to pass a particular order, but it still exercises such jurisdiction and pass the order. In such a situation, the High Court can exercise its supervisory jurisdiction. Second situation, where the subordinate court had the jurisdiction but it failed to exercise. In such a situation also, the High Court can exercise its supervisory jurisdiction. Third situation, where the subordinate court had the jurisdiction and it also exercised it, but not in the manner which is permitted by the law. It means the subordinate court exercised the jurisdiction illegally but not according to the law. In such a situation also, the High Court can exercise its supervisory jurisdiction. Now, the question arises whether the Supreme Court also have supervisory jurisdiction over the High Courts. So answer to this question is no, because the Constitution does not give supervisory jurisdiction to the Supreme Court, and the High Courts are not subordinate courts to the Supreme Court. It is true that the Supreme Court is the highest court in the country, but it does not have supervisory jurisdiction simply because the Constitution does not give supervisory jurisdiction to the Supreme Court, and the High Courts are not subordinate to the Supreme Court. Now moving forward, the next words are in section 6 are the courts constituted under any law other than this Samhita. The words other than this Samhita means other than Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita. So there can be courts which may deal with criminal matters which are not provided in BNSS. So generally such courts are dedicated specially to some special subjects. For example, where the accused is a juvenile, then his case shall be tried by the courts that is provided in Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act 2015, not by the courts which are provided in Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita. So other than the High Court and the special courts, we have Court of Session. So every state is divided into sessions division, and there can be one or more districts in each and every session division. And in every session division there shall be a court of session, and in every court of session there shall be a session judge, and there may be any number of additional session judges. So this session judge is an administrative head of the court of session, so he has some administrative power which an additional session judge does not have. For example, power of transfer a case. A session judge can withdraw and transfer a case or appeal from one additional session judge to another additional session. So this power an additional session judge does not have. Now moving forward, we have magistrates court in every district. In every district there shall be a magistrate court, and in every magistrate's court there shall be a chief judicial magistrate. This chief judicial magistrate is head of the magistrate's court, and his main function is to supervise and control other judicial magistrates in the magistrate's court, and he would also try important cases as well. So the high court may appoint any judicial magistrate first class to be an additional chief judicial magistrate. Short form is ACJM. So an ACJM shall have all the powers, shall have same powers of the CJM. So every CJM and ACJMs are subordinate to the session judge, and like a session judge, the CJM may withdraw and transfer a case from any judicial magistrate who is subordinate to him to another judicial magistrate. Then we have judicial magistrate first class. The High Court may appoint any number of judicial magistrate first class in a magistrate's court, and these judicial magistrates first class are subordinate to the chief judicial magistrate, but they are subject to the general control of the sessions judge only. Then we have judicial magistrate second class. Then in the last we have executive magistrates. Section 6 mentions the courts of executive magistrates as a separate category distinct from the courts of judicial magistrate. So this separation shows the separation of judiciary from the executive. Formerly, what used to happen that most of the magistrates used to perform both judicial and executive functions. But Article 50 of the Indian Constitution directs the state that it shall take steps to separate the judiciary from the executive in the public services. So Section 6 and the subsequent provisions in the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita relating to the High Court's complete and exclusive control over the judicial magistrates would indicate the effective separation of the judiciary from the executive. So regarding the appointment of executive magistrates, in every district, the state government may appoint as many number of executive magistrates, and one of them will be appointed as district magistrate, and the state government may also appoint additional district magistrate, and this additional district magistrate shall have all the powers of district magistrate, and all these executive magistrates are subordinate to the district magistrate because he is the head of the district. So an executive magistrate deals with the criminal matters in limited circumstances. For example, suppose an accused is arrested. He has to be produced within 24 hours of his arrest before a judicial magistrate under section 58 of Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. Suppose the judicial magistrate is not available at the moment for some reasons. Then such accused can be produced before the nearest executive magistrate. Then such executive magistrate before whom the accused is produced, he has power to grant police detention of such accused for maximum 7 days under section 187 subsection 6 of the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. So this was all about the hierarchy of criminal courts. In conclusion, that wraps up our discussion on criminal courts hierarchy. Thank you for joining me today. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and until next time, happy learning.